Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC 289 Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana just ended, and this is going to be my UFC 289 post-fight. I'm going to discuss every single fight on the card, giving my thoughts and reaction. We're going to start with the early prelims, go all the way to the main event, but before I get into that, guys, do me a favor. If you enjoy these post-fight videos, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Starting off with the first fight of the night, Belbiţă versus Miranda Oliveira. Basically, what happened in this fight is Belbiţă just outstruck her. She had the more technical striking. She was pumping the jab. Miranda Oliveira initiated some takedowns, but once she got her down, she really did nothing with it. I had it 30-27 for Belbiţă. Both of them were gassed come the third round. Neither one of them looked particularly great. Belbiţă just landed the cleaner shots, was pumping the jab, landing the better shots overall. And then when Oliveira took her down, she just laid on top of her, did no damage, never really passed guard, never really did much in the fight. I had it 30-27 for Belbiţă. Moving up the card, Steve Erceg versus David Dvorak. Erceg stepped in on like a week's notice to fight David Dvorak, a top 10 ranked flyweight. Steve Erceg won this fight 29-28. Honestly, you could have gave it to him 30-27. I thought you could have given it to him 30-27. David Dvorak looked good in the first round, landed a couple good right hands. Second round was very, very close. Steve Erceg, towards the end of the round, clipped him with a big punch, then landed a head kick, dropped him badly. Looked like he might finish him, but he wasn't able to finish him. And then going into that third round, David Dvorak really wasn't able to do much there. It was a close round, don't get me wrong, but David Dvorak just shot in a couple sloppy takedowns, got him down for a second, but really did no damage. Then Erceg worked his way back to his feet, landed a couple good shots on the feet, and then got a takedown of his own to kind of seal out the round. And I just thought in that third round, Steve Erceg just landed the better shots. It was a close round. I could see potentially giving it to David Dvorak, but I really think getting rocked at the end of that second round changed David Dvorak in this fight. And Steve Erceg, good footwork, good power, good striking, good movement in general. Really impressed me for coming in on a couple days' notice, a week's notice, against a top 10 ranked guy. So he's going to be in the top 10, or at least the top 15 when they change the rankings. So Steve Erceg, impressive performance over a game guy in David Dvorak. It was basically a leg kick battle early. Both guys chopping each other's calves. Both guys were kind of switching stances and trying to check kicks. But Steve Erceg had the bigger moments in this fight, hurt him badly in that second round. That was the biggest moment of the fight. And then David Dvorak, when he got him down, wasn't really able to do anything with it. And then even, I think it was in the third round, there was a scramble where Erceg ended up on his back for a little bit, but really wasn't able to do anything with it either. Steve Erceg gets the win via decision. Moving up the card, Kyle Nelson versus Bilder. This fight actually really irritated me. First round was close. I had Bilder winning the first round, but then towards the end, he got rocked. So I gave it to Nelson because it was such a close round. I favored Bilder, but he got rocked at the end, so I gave it to Kyle Nelson. The second round, Nelson was just jabbing him to death, busting him up with the jab, outstriking him. Then you go into the third round, and it's like, okay, he knows he lost the first two rounds. Bilder has to know he lost the first two rounds. And then in the third round, Nelson's just landing better shots on the feet, pumping the jab, and Bilder's taunting and throwing spinning techniques. Bilder's literally taunting and then throwing like spinning heel kicks. And he's gassed in the third round. Really had nothing to offer, just getting out jabbed, getting busted up on the feet. Honestly, embarrassing performance for Bilder. I don't even want to see him fight again. Kyle Nelson gets the win. Was it super impressive? It wasn't great, but he won it with his striking. I thought if he won this fight, he would win it with his grappling. He tried to mix it in a little bit, didn't have a whole lot of success. But really, the jab is what won him this fight. And he busted up Bilder. And Bilder, even though he's losing, he's just content, chilling there, taunting, throwing spinning techniques when he's gassed in the third round. And then, of course, as the third round's ending, gets all energized and kind of crazy. I hate when fighters do that. They don't fight for the last round or last two rounds, and then all of a sudden they get a burst of energy in the last 5 seconds. Makes no sense to me. Kyle Nelson gets the win via decision. Moving up on the card, Aiemann Zahabi versus Aoriqileng. I picked Aiemann Zahabi via finish, and he gets it done early. First round KO for Aoriqileng, or for Zahabi, not Aoriqileng. I misspoke there. But good leg kicks early from Aoriqileng. But then, Zahabi caught a leg kick, threw a massive left hook, dropped him badly. Should have been a walk-off KO, but the referee didn't stop it. And then he just followed up with some ground and pound shots, and it was over. I mean, Zahabi with a nasty finish. It was brutal. And that's the first time Aoriqileng has ever been finished, which is craziness. So Zahabi looked good, but it didn't last very long. It lasted 1 minute and 4 seconds into the first round. But Aiemann Zahabi gets another win. He's 10-2 now. I thought if he finished him, I picked him via third round TKO. I thought Aoriqileng would slow down throughout the fight, and then I thought Zahabi would catch him in the later rounds and finish him, but he gets it done in the first round. Moving up the card, Jasmine Jadavicious versus Miranda Maverick. Horrible fight, in my opinion. Miranda just shooting on sloppy shots when she's winning on the feet, at least in the early rounds. The first round I gave to Miranda Maverick because she landed the better shots on the feet. Then she kind of shot in on a takedown, and then she was on bottom, but she was looking for the armbar, and Jadavicious wasn't really doing anything. So I gave it 10-9 Miranda the first round, but then the second round, horrible takedowns by Miranda, gets mounted in the second round, gives up her back, is getting beat up on the ground, out-grappled on the ground, clearly lost the second round. Then the third round, Jadavicious was just marching forward, throwing combinations, really looking for a finish, it seemed like. And Miranda Maverick shot it on a takedown, got reversed. It was a horrible takedown attempt again, and just got dominated in the third round, lost 29-28. I think that's what the judges' scorecards gave her. But Jasmine Jadavicious gets it done. Miranda Maverick, people were kind of getting behind her a little bit. And I know she got robbed against Macy Barbara, but she looked horrible in this fight. I mean, she was having moments on the feet and then shooting sloppy takedowns from a mile away. I don't understand it. Moving up on the card, Nassourdine Imavov versus Chris Curtis. Nassourdine Imavov looked very good in that first round, and this fight unfortunately ends via no contest because of a headbutt. Tough luck for Chris Curtis, but in the first round, you had Imavov pumping the jab, landing really good oblique kicks, had a couple takedowns, didn't really get any damage off when they were on the ground, had a good elbow on the feet when Chris Curtis kind of had that high guard. Imavov grabbed it, kind of pulled it down, and threw an elbow over the top. I thought the first round was clear-cut for Imavov. Second round, very competitive. Chris Curtis starting to pick up the pace, starting to throw more body shots. He landed some shots in the first round, but Imavov with the jab, with the oblique kicks, and the takedowns, clearly won the first round. Second round was getting more competitive, and I thought Imavov was edging him out in the second round, but then there's a headbutt, and Chris Curtis gets a massive cut right on his eyelid, eyebrow area, and as soon as I seen the cut, I was like, honestly, I don't want this fight to continue. I'm biased a little bit towards Chris Curtis. I want him to win the fight. But even so, I'll criticize people when I'm like, oh, this guy's looking for a way out, and this guy wants a way out, and they're kind of faking it, which we've seen in the past with certain fighters. Chris Curtis got headbutt badly, and his eye started to swell. He had a nasty cut. The blood was dripping right into his eye, and they stopped it. They gave him time. He was asking for more time from the ref. Eventually, he had told the doctor, I can't really see. Give me a little bit more time. He was wiping the blood away. The blood was dripping right in the eye. He kept wiping the eye. Jason Herzog's ready to stop the fight. Chris grabs his hand, says, give me one more minute. Just give me one more minute. He wants to continue, but then he's still wiping the eye, still saying he can't see. Referee calls off the fight. I think it was the right move, honestly, because if he goes out there, he's not going to win the rest of the second round, I don't think, especially with blood dripping in his eye. Apparently, not only did he need a bunch of stitches, he had a corneal abrasion. So I know people are going to say, oh, he was faking, he wanted a way out. I don't see that at all. He clearly wanted to fight. It was a nasty headbutt. Tough luck getting headbutted twice in a row. Kelvin Gastelum fight, he basically lost because of the headbutt, and now he gets cut open by Imavov. Imavov looked good. But there's plenty of times where fighters look good and then they lose fights. We've seen it time and time again. So I know people are going to say, oh, Curtis would have lost anyway. You don't know that. Imavov looked very good, but so did Kamaru Usman in the second Leon Edwards fight where he got brutally head kick KO'd in the fifth round. I think it was the right call. I think he shouldn't have continued. I'd have been disappointed if he did continue, to be honest. And it's a no contest, which is really unfortunate. But Imavov looked very fast in this fight. His cardio looked all right. He started to fade a little bit in the second round, but nothing, out of the ordinary for a fighter. And it's just really unfortunate we didn't get to see this fight play out. Moving up on the card, the first fight on the main card, Marc-Andre Barriault versus Eryk Anders. Marc-Andre Barriault wins via decision. This was a crazy fight. And the main card in general delivered. I know a lot of people crapped on it. And you could still be a bad card on paper and then produce exciting fights that aren't necessarily super relevant to the division. This is one of those fights. The first round was absolutely crazy. Anders got dropped, but then he got back up and was just throwing crazy elbows in the clinch, doing damage of his own. Barriault was landing some good body kicks. There was a couple takedown attempts by Barriault. Anders was stuffing those. Then in the second round was razor close. You had two nut shots from Marc-Andre Barriault. The commentary team saying, looking at the replay and deciding one of them didn't land it, which was ridiculous to me. The second one was really clean and hard. But the second round was very, very close. Anders was landing some good left hands, stung him, got a takedown. It was a super close round. I scored it for Eryk Anders, but it really could have went either way. And then in the third round, it seemed like Eryk Anders was starting to slow down a little bit. And you had Marc-Andre Barriault landing constantly. He was landing that lead leg, or no, not even the lead leg. I think it was, you had a body kick and then the right hand. He was constantly landing the body kick and then the right hand. He was landing the right body kick, right hand, immediately after each other. He was like throwing them simultaneously. Right body kick, boom, right hook right behind it, and he was landing it nonstop, especially in the third round. The body kicks are what won this fight for Marc-Andre Barriault. He clearly takes the third round, and I don't remember what the judges' scorecards were. I think there was 2 30-27s and 1 29-28. I have no problem with those scorecards. Absolutely none. You could give Marc-Andre Barriault all 3 rounds. No problem with that, even though I scored the second round for Anders. First round was close, honestly. If it wasn't for Anders getting dropped, I might have gave him the first round. But he got dropped, and then the round was close after that, so you have to give it to Barriault. And then the third round was clearly Anders was starting to slow down, getting his body chewed up, and he lost the third round. So good performance by Marc-Andre Barriault. Moving up the card, Dan Ige versus Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr did a lot better than I thought he would, to be quite honest. I thought he was going to get KO'd in the first round. And in the first round, he was eating body shots. They were super tentative early, but then at the end of the round, left hook from Dan Ige drops him badly. Cleared Dan Ige round, especially after that. He was already winning the round after that. He was being super tentative, picking his shots, ripping to the body, ripping upstairs. He clearly won the round. Second round was pretty close. Nate Landwehr starting to get a little bit more aggressive. Ige was still spamming those body shots a little bit. Nate had some good jabs in this second round and an uppercut in this round. But then at the end of the round, Dan Ige almost finishes him. I think it was a left hook again. Drops him badly. Has like 8 seconds to swarm him. Swarms him a little bit. Isn't able to get the finish. But cleared Dan Ige round. And then the third round, you have Nate Landwehr pressing forward. Landing some good jabs. Busting Dan Ige up. It was a close round. You had some Nate Landwehr clinch where he was landing some good shots in the clinch against Dan Ige. I gave the third round to Nate Landwehr. I thought he won the third round. He overperformed, in my opinion. I thought Dan Ige was a massive step up in competition. I didn't think he was going to look that good. And he went out there and he lost the fight. But I think we can kind of elevate him a little bit just because he looked good against a very good fighter in Dan Ige. Even though I hate elevating fighters off of losses, he impressed me. Even though he did get dropped multiple times, the third round, I mean, the durability for Nate Landwehr is unbelievable. We have to start giving Nate Landwehr a little bit more respect. Moving up on the card, Mike Malott versus Adam Fugitt. This was a fun fight. Malott hurt him early with a body kick, landed some good shots. Malott had the grappling advantage, took him down twice with ease, but did really no damage, but clearly won the first round because he lit him up on the feet. Then the second round, it looked like Malott was starting to slow down. But maybe that was just my imagination. But then he clips him with a massive right hand, then a left hand, drops him badly, jumps immediately on the guillotine and submits him in the second round. Great performance by Mike Malott. I mean, won every single second of the fight. Really didn't have any moments to where it was like, oh, it was, he's getting lit up here. Out grappled him, outstruck him, and got the finish. Dropped him on the feet, and then used his jiu-jitsu to finish the fight. Super impressive win by Mike Malott. Even though I don't consider Adam Fugitt like a great fighter by any means. Kind of like lower level UFC fighter. But still, to go out there and put on that type of performance, I thought it was a very good win for Mike Malott. I actually picked Mike Malott by second round TKO, so I was this close. But he wasn't able to get it. He gets the submission instead. He probably could have TKO'd him, but he went for the submission. And by the way, I forgot to mention, my overall picks for this card, I went 6-4-1 because of the no contest. I got every fight on the main card outside of Eryk Anders correct. And Mike Malott had a really good performance and got the finish in the second round. Moving up on the card, the co-main event, Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. First round KO for Charles Oliveira. And I may do a full dedicated post-fight video just for this co-main event. If so, I'll link it down in the description as well as the end cards. What a fight this was, and what a win for Charles Oliveira. Going into this fight, I was so confident that Charles Oliveira would get it done. And if you go back and watch my prediction, I did a full card prediction, and then I also did a dedicated video on it. I thought Charles Oliveira, I wanted to pick him desperately by TKO or KO, but he always prioritizes a submission. So I thought he would drop Dariush on the feet badly and then look for a rear naked choke. And it was this close to happening in the first round. I picked second round. The fight started off, Oliveira threw a nasty head kick similar to the one that started at the end of the fight. Then started throwing some combinations. Darius landed some combinations of his own. Then they clinched up. Oliveira landed some good knees to the body. Then Oliveira was looking for a trip, and Darius kind of reversed it, but Oliveira almost seemed like he was pulling him down. Oliveira pulls him down on top of him. You can count it as a Darius takedown, but it was kind of weird. I only watched it twice, so I don't really know 100% what went on there, but it seemed like Oliveira was looking for a trip. Then Darius kind of reversed it, and it seemed like Oliveira was okay pulling guard. Oliveira was down, had Darius in his guard. Darius was throwing off a lot of ground and pound. But the shots to the head really weren't landing. Oliveira was moving well, throwing good shots from the bottom, throwing hammer fists from the bottom, throwing elbows from the bottom. And then a couple times he would get the feet on the hips and kind of push him off and land some up kicks, but he didn't really try to get up. It seemed like he was comfortable being there. And then Darius would try to pass, but he'd end up back in full guard. And then Oliveira was throwing more shots from the bottom, kind of landing elbows, landing hammer fists from the bottom. And then Darius was ripping to the body. The body shots of Darius were landing in the guard, but none of the head shots were really landing. There was a couple that got through, but not a lot. And then it was all of a sudden, it was like Oliveira wants to stand up. So he finally gets the feet on the hips, pushes him off, stands up, clinches up with Darius, pushes Darius against the fence, land a couple knees in the clinch up against the fence. I think he landed an elbow on the break. They finally break. Oliveira throws a nasty head kick. And it's similar to the first head kick he threw in the fight, where Darius blocks it, but he only blocks it with one arm. And so he still eats the head kick, even though it's not full force. Hurts Oliveira badly. Oliveira starts swarming him on the feet. Darius is trying to circle out. He eats a massive right hand, gets dropped badly. Looked like he might have been flash KO'd there. Oliveira jumps on the back, it almost seemed like he was going to start setting up that rear naked choke, which would have been almost a perfect pick for me. But isn't able to get it. Darius is kind of scrambling, and then Oliveira just starts beating him up on the ground. And I don't want to call this a bad stoppage because it all happened so fast, but I swear Darius went out like 2 or 3 times when Oliveira was just swarming him with ground and pound shots, banging his head off the canvas. And the ref jumped in. They gave Darius every opportunity to survive. But honestly, I think it could have been stopped a little bit early, but it happened, or it could have been stopped a little bit earlier. I don't think the fight was stopped early. But I don't have a problem with the stoppage, but Darius took a lot of damage in this fight. And Oliveira, I know he got taken down and controlled for like 3-4 minutes of the fight. I think he got back up. There was like 1:40 left on the clock. And I was getting a little bit worried, like, why are you hanging out here, Charles Oliveira? You're getting too complacent here. You get hit with a big shot, next thing you know, the fight's changed because now you're on the ground, you're hurt badly by Darius. But that didn't happen. It seemed like the second Oliveira wanted to get up, he got up, and then he just lit Darius up on the feet. I thought going into this fight, and I talked about it ad nauseum, that I just thought Oliveira had a massive speed advantage, and I thought he had a power advantage, and I thought he was more technical. And I just thought that he would win this fight. I thought he would hurt Darius on the feet badly, and that's exactly what he did. What a win by Charles Oliveira to go out there and get it done in the way he got it done. For me, going into this fight, even though I love Charles Oliveira, and I was super hyped for Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira won, I didn't have this massive desire to see Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2. I have that desire now. I mean, he looked incredible against Beneil. He really was beating him up on the ground, honestly, even though he was on bottom. Then he got up when he wanted to, and then he was like, okay, I'm going to finish him, and I'm going to swarm him, and the head kick looked unbelievable. He looked good in the multiple clinch exchanges, which I said a long time ago, or I said in my recent videos, and I've been talking about it nonstop, and I've been saying for a long time, Charles Oliveira is one of his most underrated weapons that is a massive strength for him is his clinch work, his knees to the body, his punches to the body while in the clinch. His dirty boxing is one of his biggest strengths that is not talked about. He used it in this fight. He landed some good knees to the body when they were clinched up. He looked great on the feet. He ate a couple shots early against Darius, didn't affect him at all. And honestly, Darius looked slow in this fight. And I've said that. I watched recent tape. I watched the Matals Gamrot fight. Beneil Dariush looked slow on the feet. And as much as I wanted to see, I thought Darius deserved the title shot even before this fight. And if he won this fight, he definitely deserved the title shot. I believe that Islam Makhachev would have literally boxed Beneil Dariush's head off. I think Islam Makhachev would have had the more technical striking, would have lit Beneil Dariush up on the feet, and I think he could have took him down and controlled him on the ground as well. It would have been interesting because of Beneil Dariush's scrambles, but even without any of the grappling, Islam Makhachev outstruck Alexander Volkanovski for the majority of that fight. I know that was because of the threat of the takedown, but there would be that same problem for Beneil Dariush. So I'm not necessarily sad we're not seeing Islam Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush because I believe Islam Makhachev would have definitely won. But I feel bad for him to get that long win streak. And then he finally fights Charles Oliveira, and it got postponed a month. So his fight camp's kind of out of whack. And then he gets brutally stopped in the first round. You got to feel for Beneil Dariush. And, Charles Oliveira, I'm so happy for Charles Oliveira. It's no secret I'm a massive fan of Charles Oliveira. And for him to go out there, and I made a video, why is Charles Oliveira being massively overlooked by the MMA community? That was essentially the topic of the video. And I couldn't believe the majority was picking Beneil Dariush. They were counting him out in this fight. I made an entire video about it literally yesterday. I could not believe it. I was so confident Oliveira would get it done. I was confident that he was better on the feet. And I don't know, does Beneil Dariush ever make his way back to the top? I don't know. I don't know how far he might fall, but who does he fight after this? We're going to talk about that in my other video, but I don't know. Does he fight the loser of Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier? I don't know. And I don't see him. It already seemed like the UFC was kind of lukewarm on giving him a potential lightweight title shot. Even with winning this fight, it didn't seem like they wanted Dariush as champion. And now that Charles Oliveira just smashed him and destroyed him, and even if you want to say, Dariush had some early success with the offensive grappling, I mean, who would pick Beneil Dariush in a rematch against Charles Oliveira? And that's not happening anytime soon. And then also he took so much damage. He's already in his mid-30s. And he looks like he's 75 years old. I've been saying that. I know that's not a reason to pick against someone. But he just doesn't look. He just looks old and he looks slow on the feet. And I just don't favor him. He's not an Islam Makhachev type grappler. He likes to keep it standing. He has good defensive grappling. And I just don't see him going out there. I don't see him beating a lot of these guys towards the top of the division. And I really think Charles Oliveira exposed Beneil Dariush at UFC 289. I might make a video on that as well. But I'm happy to see Charles Oliveira get the win. I feel bad for Beneil Dariush. Hopefully he can rebuild and maybe get back into title contention in the lightweight division, because I think he was an interesting contender. But ultimately, Charles Oliveira is back, and he wants that Islam Makhachev rematch. And it seems like, well, the way Dana White was talking at the post-fight presser, it seems like that's going to happen. Probably UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. That remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. I could see the UFC maybe going in another direction. But as of right now, it seems like Charles Oliveira will get the next lightweight title shot. Moving on to the main event, Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana. Amanda Nunes wins via decision. I think it was 2 50-44s and a 50-45. I don't remember the exact judges' scorecards. Nunes was lighting her up on the feet in the first round. Deeps to the body, good leg kicks. I think she took her down once or twice in the first round, but just used a single leg, dropped her to the mat, didn't even follow her down, didn't care, was just mixing it in, was pumping the jab. But in the middle of the round, or towards the end of the first round, Irene Aldana landed a right hand, a close right hand that landed right clean on the chin of Amanda Nunes, hurt her badly, but then that was it for Irene Aldana. That's the rest of the fight. That's the rest of the fight. That's all Irene Aldana did. And after that, Nunes in the second round was lighting her up with calf kicks, lighting her up with the jab, takedowns at ease. I think she took her down multiple times in the second round, and then wasn't even following her down. She was just mixing it in for fun. And Aldana was just throwing some calf kicks, but she was just eating big shots from Nunes, and Nunes was being a little bit more respectful, not to get over-aggressive like she did in the first round and get caught. Then in the third round, more of the same from Nunes. Nunes in the third round actually decided to follow her down a little bit. And one thing I do have to give Irene Aldana a little bit of credit for, she was scrappy on the ground. She was constantly trying to get the feet on the hips and push her up, and then she was looking for that up kick to the liver again, but that's not going to happen twice. Aldana had some good scrambles. She had there was a takedown where Nunes was looking to take her down. She kind of grabbed the fence, and then she gave up her back, but scrambled out of it. And it was just Nunes just beating her up all third round. Then more of the same for the fourth round, beating her up. But the takedowns of Nunes in the fourth round, she was trying to grapple in the fourth round, wasn't really getting them in the fourth round. She was getting them with ease all fight, but then as Nunes started to slow down, the shots came more labored, and she wasn't able to get them, but she was still just busting her up on the feet. Calf kicks, jabs. Aldana was landing a couple shots on Nunes, but nothing significant. And then the fifth round was a 10-8 round. Amanda Nunes went out there, took her down, controlled her, full mounted her, beat her up, landed elbows, landed ground and pound, absolutely destroyed her on the ground. I thought she might find a finish in the fifth round. And while we're watching this fight, I kept hearing John Anik kind of like sowing seeds of this could be Amanda Nunes' last fight. I genuinely believe the UFC kind of knew behind the scenes rumors that this was going to be Amanda Nunes' retirement fight. We even talked about it mid-fight. I even said, somebody in the chat said it, but I also said it. that I think this might be Amanda Nunes' last fight. I think she might retire. Then the second the fight ended, she went over to Dana White. I heard Dana White ask her, mouth it. You couldn't hear his words, but you could see his mouth. Are you retiring right now? And Nunes said yes. Nunes retires in the cage at UFC 289 after absolutely destroying Irene Aldana. I wish there would have been some more urgency to finish her, but who knows? What are you going to do? I mean, she absolutely dominated her, outstruck her, outjabbed her, outleg kicked her. The only moment Irene Aldana had was in the first round with that right hand. She retires in the cage, and I'm probably going to have to make a separate video about this if I have time. Maybe I'll make this Monday or Tuesday. Women's MMA for bantamweight is absolutely dead. I would say featherweight too, but featherweight's already been dead. So featherweight's non-existent. They're going to retire the featherweight division now. Bantamweight's dead, guys. I don't know what more to say. Delete the women's bantamweight division. What are you going to have? Juliana Pena versus Raquel Pennington for the vacant bantamweight title? Ew. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see. That's horrible. And then you're going to have Juliana Pena say Amanda Nunes retired because she's scared of her and that she's ducking her and that she should have gotten her trilogy. Dude, Amanda Nunes would destroy Juliana Pena in a trilogy. I can't believe anyone even picked her in the rematch, to be honest. It was easy to see that first fight, I don't want to call it a fluke. All the factors went Juliana Pena's way, but I don't know what the UFC is going to do. They have to be scrambling. They have to bring new talent to the bantamweight division. If I have to watch Juliana Pena, Raquel Pennington, and Holly Holm fight over the vacant bantamweight title, I think I'm going to throw up in my mouth. And if that better not be a pay-per-view headliner. Oh my goodness, that better not be a pay-per-view headliner. But nonetheless, Amanda Nunes retires as double champ. I want to say the featherweight championship was complete fake, but it really wasn't because she did KO Chris Cyborg. But that was the only real true featherweight win, in my opinion, for Amanda Nunes. A lot of the other fights were just paying 35ers to go up to 45 and fight Amanda Nunes, so she didn't have a weight cut. But Amanda Nunes gets it done in dominant fashion at UFC 289. Overall, the card was pretty good. The main card was super exciting. There wasn't a single fight on the main card that I thought was terrible. I know people were kind of clowning the main event, but Nunes went out there and did what she needed to do. You know, it is what it is. She dominated her. She was throwing strikes. What is she supposed to do? How is she supposed to create a war when she's meeting no resistance? Now, could she have went for the finish a little bit more? Yeah, but she was dominating her in the striking. It's not like she took her foot off the gas. I would have liked to seen a finish, but she still went out there and beat the brakes off of her. And I don't know who fills Amanda Nunes' shoes in the women's bantamweight division. I don't know what's going to happen from here on out. They might be co-main events from here on out on pay-per-view cards because I don't really see anyone in the women's division that can headline a pay-per-view card or should headline a pay-per-view card. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.